It's time for Real Talk with Brian and Dan, the weekly talk radio show dedicated to discussing important real estate topics, plus insight into the local community. With a combined experience of over 50 years as local real estate brokers from the Eastside Real Estate Team at Keller Williams Realty Bellevue. Here's your hosts, Brian Levitt and Dan Edwards.
Good afternoon and welcome to Real Talk with Brian and Dan on 1150 KKNW. There's a glow out there, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that's right. When you walk into a coffee shop now, you're seeing moms that seem incredibly happy, dads that are incredibly satisfied because it's back to school.
Or is it pumpkin lattes?
It could be pumpkin lattes, one of the two. But I just ran into so many moms at the Starbucks this morning. They're like, "Oh, it's great. The kids are off to school." So they're definitely time of year. And I'm sorry to say, folks, summer's over.
Summer's over. Oh,
it's
well.
over.
It's
if
good while
you
it
didn't get
lasted.
out, actually, my favorite time of year in the Northwest is the fall because you get these beautiful afternoons that are like sunny and everything, and cool, crisp evenings. The stars are out. Football, Huskies,
ripe tomatoes.
Yeah, baby.
Oh yeah. It's time
I've got
in
a
the
couple. I think we talked about that earlier. I
did.
got a couple. Well, hey, listen. Thank you for listening to Real Talk with Brian and Dan. It is September 4th, 2019. We appreciate you listening to us. If you would like to listen to any past episodes, you can find our podcast anywhere podcasts are podcasted. We have another fantastic show. We are very excited to welcome Jenni Butz with BNI Northwest and Barry Neya, an independent appraiser, home appraiser. That should be a really fun conversation. But before we get to our guests, it's always time for some real talk.
Last week, we answered some of your questions about down payments. Today, we're going to give you some insights into why you should hire a real estate professional when selling your house. Rising home prices, coupled with a lack of inventory in today's market, may cause some homeowners to consider selling their home on their own. This is known in the industry as a for sale by owner, or as we at the Eastside Real Estate call them, unrepresented sellers.
Unrepresented sellers, yep.
FSBO, so for sale by owner, acronym FSBO, FSBO. A FSBO might not be a good idea for the vast majority of sellers, and today we want to discuss some of the reasons why that is.
Yeah, the first reason we recommend using a real estate professional is because of the online strategy. Now, we have been implementing one that's comprehensive. It covers hundreds of websites, and it also includes social media and broadcast media through our radio show. Studies have shown that 95% of buyers, and if it isn't 99, I'd be very surprised.
Oh, it's 99.
Very close.
It's 99.
Start searching online. In comparison to 13% read the newspaper.
I haven't
search
seen
for
a
a
real
home
estate
in a
ad in the
newspaper.
paper.
All right.
in
I mean,
ages.
actually, I have seen ads in newspapers, and it surprises me.
Really?
What? I don't
Why
know
would
why
they
we
do
do that.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you're reaching a different
Fractional.
very fraction of the audience. Not to, I don't want to speak bad about newspapers, but the most effective place to market is online when it comes to real estate.
Right. So additionally, most buyers actually end up finding homes from the internet. A recent survey asked buyers where they found a home and that they actually purchased. 50% said on the internet.
50%.
28% from a real estate broker, 7% from a yard sign, and 1% from newspapers.
There's that newspaper.
There's the
again.
newspapers.
Yep.
The days of selling your house by putting a sign in the yard and an ad in the paper are long gone. Having a strong internet strategy is definitely crucial.
Yeah, and I think internet strategies now, when it comes to anything, like have you ever been on a certain local website, rhymes with Amazon, and you search for something on there, and then you happen to go to like 3 other websites, and that product is following you around?
Right.
Well, that's a strategy that we can
use
implement,
that.
and
Right.
implementing. So the whole idea is for us is to target the demographic. We've got a couple of homes coming on the market in the next couple of weeks, and we're actively thinking who would be searching for us. And there's a great ability for us to actually utilize the demographics interests on Facebook to target listing directly to a potential buyer.
Our objective is to find that one buyer who's willing to pay more for your home than anyone else. We very much target that buyer.
So another reason we recommend not being an unrepresented seller is that there are too many people to negotiate with. Here's a list of some of the people that you're going to need to be prepared to negotiate with if you decide to go that route. First, the buyer. They want the best deal possible. Second, the buyer's agent, who solely represents the interests of the buyer. Third, a buyer's attorney. So in some areas across the country, you have to have an attorney approve all contracts. The home inspection companies, which also work for the buyer. And then finally, the appraiser. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, they don't negotiate. Barry will talk about that.
So, there's a lot of different things. Like, if you consider who you're negotiating with,
Right.
somebody on the other side of the negotiating table knows that your reason for selling without an agent is to save money.
Right.
And their goal is to take advantage of that.
Again, there's a crucial element here, too, where the only reason a buyer shops an unrepresented seller is to save the money. There's an assumption that since there's no broker involved, they get it for less. But wait a minute, the seller's doing all the work to save the money, and the buyer's expectation is to save the money. It doesn't work. It just doesn't add up.
Right.
For sale by owner has become increasingly difficult as time has progressed. The paperwork involved in selling and buying a home has increased dramatically as industry disclosures and regulations have become mandatory. Not only will you have many negotiations to go through, you also have a lot of paperwork on your hands, making the process much more complicated than it would be with a broker.
Can't I just do a quick clean to sell my house?
Oh, don't even go there. I'm representing a buyer right now who's buying a for sale by owner.
Yep.
And so essentially all of the work falls on me. I'm fine with that. My buyer will be,
Do what's
they are
right
very
for your
happy.
client.
I'm doing
Yeah.
everything right for my client.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the seller actually reach out to me about, let's just do a quick claim and have them bring the money in. And it's like, well, let me get this straight. There's a lender, and the contract spells out the form of
Well, and I think the
property.
important part is I actually came across a transaction where the previous transaction was a for sale by owner, and they actually transferred ownership via quitclaim. They didn't have all the rights to sell the property now.
Yeah, if you understand what a quitclaim is, it's all it does is convey any right that you may have. Dan, I could quitclaim this building to you.
Yeah.
But too bad for you, I don't own it.
I don't have any interest.
So, yeah. And so one last point here, FSBOing has dropped from 19% to 7% over the last 20 years. People are figuring out that it's gotten so complex that a broker really is pretty much mandatory.
So there was a study by Collateral Analytics that revealed unrepresented sellers don't actually save anything. And in some cases, they may actually cost themselves. Full disclosure, Brian.
Yeah.
Before I was in real estate, I actually sold my home for sale by owner in Linwood.
Yeah.
I thought it was smart. I actually offered 4% commission to the person that was competing against me, and I sold it for the price that I wanted. It got me into the house that I needed, right? So the result was good. But what I know then, I left money on the table.
Well, and I've read that there's so much more litigation against, sellers who represent themselves.
Yes.
And what attorneys say about an attorney who represents himself? They have a fool for a client.
For a client,
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, but you know what? If you've been doing it as long as Brian has, which is like ages when the dinosaurs, you have seen it. You've been there. You've done it, right? So being able to save our clients, that's the whole key. Well, that concludes our segment for Real Talk. We could talk for days about this. Coming up next, though, is our Mortgage Moment segment. Stay tuned after this commercial break to hear what the heck is going on in the mortgage industry with Michael Burdick. Join us right after this break.
Not sure if now is the right time to sell? Worried you missed the market? The Eastside Real Estate Team specializes in helping homeowners maximize their equity when selling. With our proven premier listing service, our clients have sold their homes for more money in less time than the competition. We know you have many choices when working with a real estate agent, but with the Eastside Real Estate Team, you get a team of highly qualified, experienced agents. From staging to deciding if your property is market ready for top dollar. If you're considering selling, call the Eastside Real Estate Team at 425-200-4093 or check out our website at the eastsiderealestateteam.com, a subsidiary of Keller Williams Realty in Bellevue.
Tired of the same old conversations at networking events that never lead to new clients? BNI is changing the way the world does business by connecting you to strategic relationships that can help you grow your business. BNI is the world's largest networking organization, helping hundreds of thousands of members around the world each year increase revenue through relationship marketing. For information about visiting a BNI chapter near you, go to the BNI Northwest website at bninw.com.
Alternative Talk, 1150 on AM, 98.9 HD3 on HD, 1150 KKNW.com on the web.
Welcome back to the show. You are listening to Real Talk with Brian and Dan.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Dan. It's now time for the Mortgage Moment segment. Now, during this segment, we like to get a quick update on the lending side of the home buying process. And today we are joined by Michael Burdick, a loan consultant with Loan Depot who's been serving borrowers at a super high level over the last 10 years and was also splitting wood this weekend. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
I mean, he can do your loan. He can, split wood if you need it. Good
There
guy.
you go.
Yeah, I don't know if you can put that out there that I'll do it for everyone. But
Oh, okay.
wasn't that?
Just me, right? He's not committing to it.
There you
On the
go.
commercial break, he was committing to it. Now he's backing out.
Oh,
That's
well.
unbelievable.
You're on the air.
All right, so let's get into some really complicated stuff. PMI. What is not TMI as in T,
Too
but
much
P?
information.
PMI. What is PMI?
Well, private mortgage insurance, and, it's not one of the sexiest topics with mortgage, but it is something that comes up on every consultation that I have with a client. And ultimately, when we sit down together, their goal is, let's get the best payment. I'm only paying X amount for rent. I don't want my mortgage to be $2,000 higher. And really what we do is we sit down and figure out, okay, what's the lowest payment that we can have with your terms, your down payment, and sometimes it's not the lowest rate. It's the overall payment together. And mortgage insurance is something that, the mortgage industry puts on loans where you put less than 20% down. So most people know what it is, and they don't know exactly all the information about it. So I educate my clients on, this is what your PMI would be on this loan, and this is what it will be on this loan, and these are your options to get it lowered, minimize it, pay it off earlier. So there's lots of different ways to go about it, and when you sit down with a mortgage professional, they're going to be able to show you all the different options and come up with a plan that makes the most sense for
Right.
that client and their particular situation.
The thing I find is that most buyers don't understand, what the insurance is for. They think it's really for their benefit. It is in that they get the loan, but really it's insurance that indemnifies the lender against loss of
Default,
default. Right? Yeah. So then the next
Exactly.
question I get is, how much is it and how long do they need to pay it?
Well, and that's a kind of a loaded question in itself. And you're right. It is an insurance for the lenders because just statistically, people that put less down have defaulted on their loans, so they will hit you with this extra payment. But how much that is, it depends on the loan program. It's initially how much they put down, whether they're putting down 3% or 15%. That PMI is going to be different, and then their credit score is going to help us decide which loan to put them in versus, FHA, conventional. And then we do have options on even jumbo to put less than 20% down, but they don't have mortgage insurance. They just built it into the rate. So they're
Into the
taking a
rate,
higher
right.
interest rate on that.
Okay, so just for our listeners, essentially what we're talking about is when you borrow money, you have principal and interest, right? Principal is the equity part of the loan.
Right.
Interest is obviously the cost for borrowing the money. And then the next stack on top of that is PMI, or personal mortgage insurance.
Private.
Sorry. Not personal. Private.
Personal.
Thank
Private
you.
mortgage
Perfect. Private. And then also stacked on top of that is your property insurance,
Homeowners.
right, for homeowners insurance, and then also property taxes.
Right.
So there are all the different layers when you're borrowing a loan. There's a kind of a stacking effect.
PITI, PMI.
What?
Principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and private mortgage insurance.
Wow.
PITI,
PMI.
yep.
Yep.
Got it. So it's, and I think it is, Michael, it's important, right, to kind of understand how that impacts your ability to get the loan, because that personal mortgage insurance payment may put you out of ratio for your debt to income ratio, right?
Absolutely. People do their homework. They go on Google, and there's so many websites out there.
Right.
And give you a payment. Necessarily really meeting with a loan consultant or, and figuring out exactly what the total payment is going to be. That'll give you an idea more of your property search.
Yeah. So, Michael, if our listeners want more information about this, I'm sure they can reach out to you. How do they get a hold of you?
Go to Google, look at Michael Burdick, Loan Depot out of Bellevue. Best number for me is 206-661-2289.
Michael, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
So after a break, we'll be talking to our guest for the week. First up will be Jenni Butz with BNINW, who will be discussing building your business by building relationships. We'll be right back.
Did you know when you pay rent, you're actually paying someone else's mortgage? Are you tired of missing out on owning your own home? Fact: homeowners on average have 40 times the financial net worth of renters. The Eastside Real Estate Team has been helping many first-time homebuyers find and buy their first home. They specialize in customer service and put you first. They listen first to what you're looking for, and then they take the time to make sure their clients understand every aspect of the home buying process. If owning a home has been your dream, the Eastside Real Estate Team can help you. For a free, no-hassle consultation, call 425-200-4093 or find them online at the eastsiderealestateteam.com, a subsidiary of Keller Williams Realty in Bellevue.
Are you ready to select a residential contractor for your remodel project or custom construction? Have you been presented with a contract to review and sign? Well, before you go any further and before you sign anything, contact Douglas Schwed at Access Law NW for an expert contract review and a contractor due diligence investigation. We highly recommend that before you sign any major home improvement, remodel, or custom construction contract, that you consult with a qualified real estate contract attorney. Mr. Schwed has developed a proprietary 10-step builder due diligence investigation algorithm, which fully and completely documents any contractor's operating and legal compliance history, including litigation checks, including civil and criminal background, bankruptcy filings, licensing compliance, insurance and bonding compliance, and other relevant business details. From that investigation, a written report is provided highlighting all areas of concern so the client can make a fully informed, unemotional business decision before the sign and before performance problems and disputes arise. Go to accesslawnw.com to contact us or to get more information. That's accesslawnw.com.
Tired of the same old conversations at networking events that never lead to new clients? BNI is changing the way the world does business by connecting you to strategic relationships that can help you grow your business. BNI is the world's largest networking organization, helping hundreds of thousands of members around the world each year increase revenue through relationship marketing. For information about visiting a BNI chapter near you, go to the BNI Northwest website at BNINW.com.
Alternative Talk 1150, the talk of the sound.
Welcome back to Real Talk. You're listening to, welcome back. You're listening to Real Talk with Brian and Dan.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Dan.
There we go.
Our first guest today is Jenni Butz with BNI Northwest. Jenni is the regional director for BNI Northwest, part of the world's largest networking organization. A former high school French and English teacher, Jenni started her own business in 2013 as a professional speaker, MC, and auctioneer, helping professionals learn, grow, and give money in ways that matter. Now she helps almost 1,100 BNI members in the Puget Sound area build their business through relationships. Words are her work, and grammar is her jam. Just wanted to rhyme.
Having
Please
too much fun.
welcome to the show, Jenni Butz.
Hello. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. So we talked about this beforehand. You had to come up with some hobbies because you work so hard. But if you had free time, what would your hobbies be?
I have free time. It's a myth that I work that hard.
Oh, good.
I was just thinking back over my calendar recently, and apparently one of my hobbies is going to Paris.
No.
Because I just completed my 13th trip.
Is that all?
That's all.
Wow.
Okay, so tell us something about Paris that keeps bringing you back.
Well, it took 11 times before I even went to the top of the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, jeez.
And I discovered on the 12th time that you can drink champagne at the top of the Eiffel Tower. And that's a pretty cool thing to say you have in your memory.
Gotcha. So now that was your motivating factor to get to the top.
Yes, after I went to therapy to overcome my fear of heights.
Wow. Like, did you just crawl up a little ways each time and said, I'm going to have to come back here and try
Well, the
again?
Space Needle was my penultimate victory.
Okay.
Once I could do the Space Needle, then I was ready to go back to Paris.
Gotcha. Oh, my goodness.
So we like to ask each guest to share with us a fond memory of the home you grew up in.
It's not a fond memory. It's actually kind of a terrifying one.
Oh,
When I
well,
was
this
a
is a
kid.
house
Is this about the
real
heights?
estate.
You know?
But it was about the outside
Terrifying.
of the house. So maybe the inside was a place of comfort and peace. The outside was surrounded by construction. We were the first house in a new neighborhood, and there were grasshoppers everywhere. And as like a 5-year-old, I was terrified. So going inside was a very pleasant memory.
There you go. There you go.
Where was that at?
In Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm a Hoosier.
I guess in the summertime, there's lots of grasshoppers.
Apparently there
Apparently.
were.
There
Yeah.
were then.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, all right, what is BNI and how did it get started?
BNI stands for Business Network International, and it was started back in 1984. Dr. Ivan Meisner was a business consultant in Southern California, and he had just lost his biggest client, which, as it turns out, was 50% of his business, and they were going out of business. And he realized, since we're talking about real estate, that mortgages still need to be paid.
Yep.
It's a funny thing.
Yep.
So he needed to find more business, and he gathered up the best of everyone he knew in any given industry, and they all met together weekly to give referrals to each other, and the idea spread from Southern California to now we are over 250,000 members in 73 countries.
Wow. So how is BNI different from other networking groups like, say, the Chamber of Commerce?
They're great together, but they're very different, and maybe that's why they work well. Chambers of Commerce, I've been where there are dozens up to 100 or more people at a Chamber of Commerce, and you might have 3 or 4 realtors, 3 or 4 mortgage brokers, and you can join, come if you want. If you can't make the lunch, that's fine. They have after hours, all kinds of different events. BNI is very structured, and it works well with Chambers of Commerce, but each chapter only has one person per profession, and you are expected to come every week because it's based on building relationships.
Yeah. And I've been a part of a chapter in Bellevue since 2008. And the funny story is how I decided my business, it is people too, right? And a lot of folks that understand being self-employed or having a solopreneur recognize that they've got to build a network. They've got to have people that are like-minded. And so I did a lot of networking with other businesses, right? And I went out there and I met people. But what never happened was a deeper relationship. So how is it that BNI has really defined itself as being something so much more different than just business networking? That's kind of weird.
Well, because it is based on relationships. Our tagline is changing the way the world does business. And I was at a conference in Bangkok in November where our CEO talked about not just changing the way the world does business, but because we're building relationships and we're not just having transactions and getting the sale,
right?
We might just change the world. And I love being a part of an organization that could do that, because if I'm going to change how I interact with people professionally, that's sure to carry over in how they interact with people. And wouldn't it be great if we could give to charities and feed hungry children and do all the things that businesses would love to do outside the bottom line?
And small businesses, especially people that are passionate about what they want to do, right, are getting started, don't necessarily have a school for how to become a great networker, how to build their business through leverage. And, for Brian and I, when we do business and we send, let's say, a home inspector, or we send a window washer, or we send a small trade, they become a representative of us.
Right.
And so if there's no relationship there, Brian and I are constantly saying, hey, we've got to find people that do perform at a high level for us, not just because of us, but because our clients are being, that they view them as a face of us.
Right.
So that's where that deeper relationship, what are some tips that you can give some professionals for being more effective in their networking?
Well, I think when we go to networking events, I have so often just had business cards shoved in my hand because people can't wait, and they think you're going to go home and just call because you can't wait. But every one of those events, people go to sell and no one comes to buy.
Right.
So from the beginning of the event, everyone is at opposite purposes. So I think you can never go wrong, personally or professionally, by asking questions.
Good question.
And I try to ask questions that are not something they've heard before. I love at networking events to ask, what is it that makes you excited to get up in the morning? When you say, oh, today I get to do blank. What is it that makes you most excited? Because that usually reveals the passion they have for their business. And then you can talk about previous jobs they've had. And then it's a far more interesting conversation. People love to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
I've left events and people say, I just really like that Jenni Butz. And I'll say, you don't know anything about me. You like that I talked about you the whole time.
That's right. Well, that comes back to how to win friends and influence people, right?
Dale Carnegie.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So how did you get involved with BNI?
I was a high school teacher, as you mentioned in my introduction. And when my son went back to school and it was time to go back to work, instead of doing a traditional classroom job, I worked for a tutoring company on the east side. Shout out to my Pacific Learning Academy peeps. And my boss wanted me to represent her since she was neither an extrovert nor morning person. And these are weekly meetings in the morning. And so I went in as an employee, as a French tutor. And I met such competent strategic connections in that chapter that I was able to start my own business. So after 3 years, I sat down with my boss and I said, I have time and energy to pursue your dreams or mine. And I choose mine. Guess what? She totally understood. And then after 3 years of representing myself in the chapter, this opportunity for leadership, there was a big leadership change in our region. And I said, ooh, I could influence and help lots of people with their businesses.
Awesome.
And it's been exciting.
So what's happening with BNI here in the Northwest?
Well, we currently have 38 chapters, all the way down from Gig Harbor and Pierce County up to the Canadian border. Our northernmost chapter right now is in the Arlington-Marysville area. And September is our month of leadership transition. Every year we have new leaders, so all of the chapters are getting ready to transition to new things. This fall or winter, we're going to have a couple of events called the Big Breakfast, where all kinds of professionals who are not members of BNI can come and hear a little bit more about it and meet people and have some strategic networking opportunities.
Awesome.
So our topic today is building your business by building relationships. What are some important aspects of relationships that come into play with business?
Couldn't that have 1,000 answers?
It could.
Lucky
so give
for
us
you.
your top couple.
Yes, lucky for you, I've narrowed it down to 2. I have found that shared values and effective communication are crucial in professional and personal relationships. Shared values, because if you are facing the same direction as another person in life, you know that you can count on them for integrity and honesty, and you are going to share those values in how you do business or who you choose as a spouse. Those kinds of things are the foundational principles we build our lives on. And effective communication is so important because only 7% of our communication is the words we use. So if we can harness the energy behind our body language and our tone and all of the other parts that communication embodies, we are going to be far more effective in business and at home.
Well, so how does BNI help with that?
BNI is based on 7 core values, the first of which, and the most important that everyone knows in our membership, is Giver's Gain, which is based on Zig Ziglar's quote that if you help enough people get what they want in life, you will get what you want. And so having such carefully articulated core values means that everybody there is kind of set apart from other business people who aren't in an organization like BNI because we do business differently. We try to help other people. I've never known a group of people who can't wait to make a connection for you, can't wait to help you or find a resource for you. And that really sets everybody apart.
Well, along those lines, that's kind of the whole idea is as an individual, BNI from networking is not about going into that room and seeing who in that room I can sell my goods to. The whole idea is to go into that room and then train the other 20, 30, 40 professionals the type of business I'm looking for this week. Because when they go out into their network and they do their things and they hear these catchphrases, oh, I hear we're getting ready, we have another baby on the way, we may need more room. Now they're the person that can actually say, hey, I've got a guy, and have the confidence that it's not some random agent, but somebody they know well.
Right. I've got a guy. That's one of our favorite lines.
That's great. I love it. So, Jenni, you've been a teacher. What homework do you have for us in this area?
Oh, no.
In other words, what are some resources you'd recommend for good communication?
Homework is just fun work that you get to do at home.
Sounds like a teacher.
No, it's
Jeez
good.
Louise.
I have read a couple of really great books on communication. One is called Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott, and another was called Crucial Conversations by several authors. And that crucial conversation comes from a group. You can go to their website. It's called vitalsmarts.com. And they are a great resource for all kinds of accountability, communication resources for businesses. And you can hire a consultant or go to a class or download resources there.
It's awesome. My book list keeps growing.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm reading like 5 books at a time right now. So if somebody was interested, one of our listeners had a small business or knew of somebody that had a small business that would like to get connected, how would they find out about joining a chapter?
The best place to find any information that you need is BNINW.com, BNI Northwest, BNINW.com. My phone number is there. My email is there. You can also find a list of all 38 chapters, as well as where there are groups that are starting. So if your position is already taken somewhere and you want to start your own new group, everything you need is at our regional website.
So how many chapters are starting right now?
I would guess we have several down in Pierce and Southern King County, a couple here in Bellevue, actually, one in Bothell. We probably have half a dozen or more new groups that are starting, always with real estate brokers.
Yeah.
Real estate brokers know the value of the network.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think you'll find real estate brokers, mortgage brokers, financial advisors, all are pretty solid with that.
Yeah, for sure.
So you answered this partially already, but how do our listeners get a hold of you? What's your phone number?
425-246-2815, and it's Jenni Butz at BNI.com.
All right. And so new chapters are starting. They can contact you directly. What about your area directors that handle certain areas? Are there certain numbers they should call or just go to the website?
If they just go to me, I will filter them to the right person because all the area directors are by geography. So I'll make sure they go to the right area director.
And the website is what again?
www.bninw.com.
Awesome.
Jenni, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
After the break, we have in studio Barry Neya, who will be discussing fundamentals of real estate appraising. Stay tuned after the break for more.
Not sure if now is the right time to sell? Worried you missed the market? The Eastside Real Estate Team specializes in helping homeowners maximize their equity when selling. With our proven premier listing service, our clients have sold their homes for more money in less time than the competition. We know you have many choices when working with a real estate agent, but with the Eastside Real Estate Team, you get a team of highly qualified, experienced agents. From staging to deciding if your property is market ready for top dollar. If you're considering selling, call the Eastside Real Estate Team at 425-200-4093 or check out our website at the eastsiderealestateteam.com, a subsidiary of Keller Williams Realty in Bellevue.
Feeling disorganized? Do you have trouble finding things in your home or feel overwhelmed when you open a drawer in the kitchen? Does your house add unnecessary stress to your already busy life? If the answer is yes to any of these questions, the professional organizers from Born to Organize would love to help. Born to Organize specializes in general home organizing, downsizing, home sale preparation, and move-in assistance. Unlike other organizing businesses, we also have a full-time licensed carpenter to assist with larger system installations and handyman projects. In as little as one visit, Born to Organize can help eliminate stress and anxiety in your life by utilizing an individualized approach with each client that includes decluttering and creation of simple systems within your home. Born to Organize serves Snohomish County, King County, and is available to travel throughout the United States on a per-project basis. Jamie Bourne and her team of organizers are simplification experts and love nothing more than making a house feel like a home. Please visit our website at BOURNE2ORGANIZE.com. You can also call us at 650-274-4308 or email Jamie at bourne2organize@gmail.com.
Tired of the same old conversations at networking events that never lead to new clients? BNI is changing the way the world does business by connecting you to strategic relationships that can help you grow your business. BNI is the world's largest networking organization, helping hundreds of thousands of members around the world each year increase revenue through relationship marketing. For information about visiting a BNI chapter near you, go to the BNI Northwest website at bninw.com.
Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Real Talk with Brian and Dan on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm Brian.
And I am Dan.
Our next guest is Barry Neya, who is an independent appraiser and also my fishing buddy. Barry and I have had some pretty good trips. You'll have to share your favorite, Barry. Barry received his bachelor's in communications from the University of Hawaii in Manoa, and has been an appraiser for over 26 years. He's here to talk today about appraisals. Welcome to the show, Barry.
Oh, thanks, fellas. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Tell us a bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. Grew up in Hawaii, lived there for about 25 years, and after college, moved to Sacramento, where I accidentally...
I'm sorry. No, Sacramento. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dan, trust me, I was
Sacramento.
too, but it took me 10 years to realize that. Yeah. But moved to Sacramento, became an appraiser by accident, and never regretted
Would you just like fall into it?
Well, not really. Worked next door to an appraisal shop or a company.
Yeah.
And, got to know them and became an appraiser that way. But I don't know anybody that grows up wanting to become an appraiser unless your family member's an appraiser. Or,
funny.
Hey, Johnny, what do you want to be when you grow up? Dad, I want to be an appraiser.
Doctor, yes.
Okay, so before we get into the appraisal stuff, so this is a show about homes.
Yeah.
So talk to us about growing up in Hawaii.
Oh, growing up in Hawaii was great. I grew up in a small little plantation community. My parents immigrated from Japan, and we grew up in this sugarcane town called Ewa, E-W-A. It's pronounced Ewa. And it was a tiny little house, and, of course, if you know the houses in Hawaii, they're not built well.
Oh.
And back then, a 910-square-foot house with 3 bedrooms, I thought that was pretty big.
Really? Wow.
Yes, but little did I know. But other than that, growing up in Hawaii was fantastic. The beach, the weather, the people.
As good as you would think it is?
Oh, absolutely. But, then you discover what we call the mainland, which is here. Yeah. And then, here's reality, and things are better.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
So you mentioned you kind of didn't intentionally start. Tell us more about how you got into appraising.
Sure. After college, as I said to Dan, that moved to Sacramento. Yes. I am sorry I moved there too. But other than that, worked in for a car company to become a manager of a rental car company, and of course was next door to an appraisal company. It's American River Appraisal Company. Got to know people there, and they later on asked me if I wanted to learn and become an appraiser, and I said, this has got to be better than what I'm doing now. And sure enough, so I did give up 2 years of that and became an appraiser that way, and I've never regretted it. So it
awesome.
was fantastic. Yeah.
So you were in Sacramento for 10 years?
Yes.
And then you moved. What brought you to the Seattle area?
Well, first, breaking up with my ex-girlfriend at that time, I decided, it's time to move on, and a friend of mine said, you should come to Washington. It's great here. And I did. And, of course, fell in love with Washington and worked in a hotel the first year that I lived here, and ended up working 3 years in a hotel. Did not like that and went back and worked as an appraiser. Loved it. And I so far haven't regretted that.
Now, if you could,
tell
us how the appraisal process works.
Sure. Okay. First off, we don't get called by the homeowner, of course.
Right.
It's usually the bank or what we call the AMC, the appraisal management company, that calls us and says, "Hey, we got an assignment for you. We want you to go ahead and appraise so and so." And of course, we as appraisers, we don't like to turn down jobs because that could be the death of us, right? We don't get to cherry pick our jobs.
Right.
And we go and we do a quick, good evaluation of what the home is worth. And of course, a lot of times we get confused as being the home inspector.
Oh, that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
I hear that
a lot
all
of
the
people
time.
think that you're the home inspector. No. And then, of course, going through the process of explaining who we are and what we do, the difference between valuing the house versus inspecting the home.
So before you head out to the home, do you do some preliminary work?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Typically, the preliminary work takes about an hour, basically trying to find the comparable sales. You want to minimize the amount of trips that you take. Try to do it in one fell swoop where you can go inspect the property, shoot your comparable sale photos, come back and type the report. Time's money. You guys know that. You're brokers. So we try to do it. The better the research, the better you do a better job, if you will.
How long does it typically take for you to complete an appraisal?
On the average, with the inspection, about 4 to 6 hours.
How many are you doing typically in a week right now?
About 5 to 8. I don't try to do too many. There's a lot of appraisers that do a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And some people are really good at doing that, but boy, that's a lot of stress.
That's full time. That's
that
busy.
is.
Yeah.
So with regards to, I think a lot of times people are, Brian and I often will do a valuation and a market certain what is it? Why can't
Market
I say?
analysis.
Thank you, market analysis. And how would you say an appraisal has different goals than a market analysis?
Well, first off, like you guys are pretty good at what you do, and you guys value wise are pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something like Zillow or Trulia, their algorithms are not really that good, and a lot of people swear by them, and you can't really.
Some people swear at them.
Yeah, a lot of.
That's why it's a Zestimate, not as appraisal.
Exactly. And I always say, hey, why don't you take that valuation and see if you can get a loan with that, right?
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck,
Yeah.
right? But yes, typically, we're just a little bit more detailed than you guys, and you guys are right on. A lot of times it's the market that and you guys do your CMAs and your.
One of the things
opinions.
I've been told is a market analysis. I'm looking into the future to anticipate how much I can help the seller get for the home. An appraisal is a look in the rearview mirror. What have other homes like this one sold for? A historical view to establish value.
That is correct, because typically we're using historical data, comps from the last 3 to 6 months. So yes, absolutely.
And I think that it's important for the listeners to know that it's almost like an open conversation, whereas you have some guidelines that you have to follow when you're comparing something. One that actually really surprised me, and I didn't know this, but this is what I love about real estate, is above threshold square footage and below threshold square footage. They're valued differently.
It's funny that you brought that up. A friend of mine just this morning brought that up to me, who just refinanced his house and said, I've got a house, and he does have a basement. In fact, he has 2 finished basements, and the total square footage is about 3,700 or 3,900 square feet. And when he got the appraisal back, it didn't include, of course, the finished basement. Like, Dan, as you said, it's valued separately, and at a different area.
In a different location, yeah.
Exactly. So I said that I'll explain that to you later on. But that is a very common thing that people, don't understand.
Yeah,
right?
and here's where we ran into trouble is it was a flipper who changed from 2 bedrooms up and 2 bedrooms down to 3 bedrooms down and 1 bedroom up. And it affected the value of the final product because of the bedrooms being downstairs below grade.
That is correct. Yes, because we typically we have to bracket every bit of our our sales comparison analysis. We'll have to find a 1-bedroom comparable because it's that 1 bedroom that is located above grade.
Right.
So we have to find a comp or comparable sale that is a 1-bedroom above grade, similar to what you said.
Right.
Yes.
So I've heard the term here. Go ahead.
Oh, you had it.
Licensed or certified appraiser. Is there a difference? What's the story?
Yeah, license typically requires less educational hours and less experience hours. However, you can only appraise up to $1 million or less. And here in the market in Seattle, good luck.
For a licensed.
For license,
Yeah.
right. As certified, you can appraise anything, unlimited.
And you are?
I am certified.
Nice.
Certifiable.
None.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. Yeah.
So certified requires extra education. What qualifies somebody in that?
Yeah, extra education. We're looking at. I did write this down because I can't remember a lot of stuff here. So, 200 hours of educational time and 2,500 hours of experience
Of work experience.
Yes, versus a license 150 and 2,000 hours. So, but you got a higher threshold.
What areas do you cover in Washington?
Typically, I don't go as far as I used to go 10, 15 years ago, and I mainly stay up in King County and parts of Snohomish County. Other than that, I don't go that far.
2 counties. Okay.
Yeah, that's plenty.
And most appraisers work for themselves or a company?
They work for themselves. Most of them are independent. A lot of appraisers do not want to cough up 40% of their fees to go and work for someone else.
Right.
You know?
Don't new appraisers have to work under someone kind of like a broker?
Yeah. They would have to work for someone for a little bit until they gain their experience. But actually, once you're licensed, you can typically go out and work for yourself.
Okay.
But you got to get the clients first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where and who are the clients? The what did you call them?
AMCs are the appraisal management companies. And, unlike you guys have to go and farm a lot of areas. And once you close and sell a house, you're basically going back and
Getting a new customer.
Starting over.
Yes, yes.
Every time I do a good job, I get fired.
That is true in a way, right? Yeah. But we don't have to do that. Luckily, the work comes to us once you're signed up and you get approved with, certain AMCs or appraisal management companies. So I like that aspect of it, where I'm not chasing the work like you guys are.
Yeah.
No offense to you guys. And,
None taken.
No.
Yeah.
Couldn't
yeah.
do our job without you.
Yeah.
So where do you see the market? What's happening?
I see it slowing down right now, and you guys would know better than me. But at this point, just by doing a lot of purchases, I see a lot of, values that are coming in at list or below list. I don't see any multiple offers, and you guys are probably seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
this
you've
is
been 26 years in the business. What do you think this cycle is that we're in?
For me, I'm thinking we're going to probably head toward a recession. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe after the election, but it's just a guess, like
Okay.
anybody else.
Okay.
And I don't know. What
Always
do you guys
goes
think?
up and down.
What do you think? Well, I think I feel like we have lead measures as real estate agents. You're somewhat of a lag measure as an appraiser, because we're out there projecting where we expect the home to sell in the future,
Right.
and then you're validating. So, are you seeing purchase contracts be reduced, or are you seeing an equal balance of purchase and refi contracts? Because you do appraisals on both, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I do see a lot more refinances right now.
Okay.
And
part of that is the boom in the refi.
correct.
And
Yeah.
the other part is season, right?
Right.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And the rates are really good right now. So, you'll see a lot more refinancing right now. Other than that, the work is still good. It's plentiful, and I can't complain.
Before we get into the next question, give me your craziest story of an appraisal.
Oh, sure. One of them is, I remember this was over in Cle Elum when I used to go that far. Going into a house and appraising it, as I was in the house, I noticed a lot of photos of this one girl who was naked in every photo shot. And I kept looking, oh my God, this is kind of odd. And I looked at the photo and I looked at the homeowner, and guess what? It was the same person.
Oh no.
Yes. So even in the bedroom, every shot, whether it was on a rock near the river, it was her naked. So that was pretty.
That's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because she was there in the house too?
She was there, and
Oh,
she
yeah.
kind of had a big old grin, and which I thought was kind of funny. But yeah,
Oh, that's funny.
yeah, that was exciting. Somewhat.
Oh, well. Oh. Hey, do you recommend the next generation get into appraising?
I do. We have a shortage of appraisers here.
Was that right?
Well, I think so. And in the state of Washington, and unlike brokers, you guys, boy, how many brokers come in every year,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Goodness.
Yes. I mean, the requirements are a lot more lax now. I don't think that you need a 4-year degree anymore. So a lot of people can come in and, as long as they can get trained by an appraiser and an appraiser is willing to take them under their wings, then, you got to.
So then when you look at stuff like how do you what skill sets you would want to have to get into it, what's the key that stands out?
Skill set, just be open-minded about things. Learn to listen. Listen to the homeowner. Listen to what they have to say. Do your research on hand. That's always the most important thing. And, of course, be sociable,
Okay.
kind of like what Jenni said.
Awesome. So how can people get in contact with you?
They can email me at btnappraisals@gmail.com, or they can call me directly, 206-979-9881.
Barry, thank you so much for coming in today. You are listening to Real Talk with Brian and Dan on 1150 KKNW.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. After the break, we will have some more Real Talk and, of course, a final thought of some kind, whether it's mine or Brian. Come on back right after this short break.
Did you know when you pay rent, you're actually paying someone else's mortgage? Are you tired of missing out on owning your own home? Fact. Homeowners on average have 40 times the financial net worth of renters. The Eastside Real Estate Team has been helping many first-time home buyers find and buy their first home. They specialize in customer service and put you first. They listen first to what you're looking for, and then they take the time to make sure their clients understand every aspect of the home buying process. If owning a home has been your dream, the Eastside Real Estate Team can help you. For a free, no-hassle consultation, call 425-200-4093 or find them online at the eastsiderealestateteam.com, a subsidiary of Keller Williams Realty in Bellevue.
Tired of the same old conversations at networking events that never lead to new clients? BNI is changing the way the world does business by connecting you to strategic relationships that can help you grow your business. BNI is the world's largest networking organization, helping hundreds of thousands of members around the world each year increase revenue through relationship marketing. For information about visiting a BNI chapter near you, go to the BNI Northwest website at BNINW.com.
Tell your friends about Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Real Talk on 1150 AM KKNW. Now, we are now headed into our final thoughts for the week. Brian, what do you have for us?
I was going to talk a little bit more about the for sale by owner, just to throw a idea out there that something that Dan and I have done for years. If a person is thinking of selling themselves, we'll do a free consultation, walk you through the process, provide forms, and basically, tell you all our secrets about how we sell homes to assist you. And the way we think of it is we're happy to do that. It's kind of a job interview. If you try it yourself and decide it's not working, you want to list, then you know us, and we hope that you would think of us for representing you.
And the interesting thing about along those lines is I've received phone calls from people that said, hey, I'm thinking about getting into the real estate business, Mm-hmm. And during our last segment, Barry was mentioning, getting into appraisals and stuff like that. And I have to say that I love this industry. I really do. And I welcome anybody, even a homeowner who says, hey, you know what? I can do this. Because quite honestly, I understand where they're coming from. Like I said, I did it myself. And I think that there are times where I know what I'm good at and what comes naturally to me. And then when I try and shift and do something I'm not good at, like let's say if honestly, if you asked me to be an appraiser, I'd say no, thank you, right? Because I have to sit down and be very, detail-oriented with regards to numbers and calculations. And for us, Ryan, we price homes. We do a lot of the similar market analysis. But there's a nuance. There's a marketing nuance.
Right.
And I love marketing. So that's where I like to spend my time. And I'm happy to, like Brian said, share all of our secrets. Like, here's how it gets done.
Here's what we do.
And some sellers may decide that's the right way for them, and others may see the wisdom in hiring somebody that's a specialist in it.
The other thing, too, is in helping a seller, we view it as relationship building, if not helping on this transaction, perhaps at next. But also, many of these sellers are buying a home, and we're delighted to represent them as buyers in the purchase. So it is a win for everybody, and that's what we're about, is making this, we're very relationship-driven, making it a win for everybody concerned.
So Bumper Shoot was this last weekend. I hope people got out and enjoyed the wonderful weekend. I was out of town, but this coming weekend on Friday, there's this fun thing at the Woodland Park Zoo called Wild Bites. All right, so eating
Wild
food
Bites.
and watching animals sounds fun, right? So delectable bites, craft cocktails, okay, and exciting animal encounter awaits. Experience the zoo after hours while enjoying a delicious cuisine and cocktails prepared by some of Seattle's hottest celebrity chefs and mixologists. This brand new adults-only event is inspired by their mission to save species. Each ticket sold raises funds to help save wildlife in the Pacific Northwest and around the world. Tickets are available. So Google Wild Bites, Woodland Park Zoo. That might be a fun thing to do on a Friday night.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that concludes our show for this week. I want to especially thank our guests, Jenni and Barry, for taking the time to come in today and to speak with us. It was a great show. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back for another great show next week. Until next time.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Yeah, we should have something there.
We should have something.
Next time, this.
Yeah, give us a call.
Give us a call.
Your ideas.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, y'all.